The second wave of coronavirus, which ravaged the country, seems to be finally ebbing, and preparations are on by the government to battle a possible third wave. A high-level government meet to review preparedness of the health infrastructure will happen today. You'll have senior officials of the PMO and MHA who are going to be attending this high-level review meet. Home Minister Amit Shah is also likely to attend the huddle. The agenda of the meet is essentially to discuss operational matters, preparations for the possible third wave, ensuring oxygen supply, availability of vaccines and other issues also that have been faced by ministries and the departments during the second wave. Several cities are also taking steps to tackle the COVID third wave. Bengaluru is also gearing up for that. They're saying that it could affect children, the third wave. The city's civic body is organizing workshops for 50 doctors where they'll be given hands-on training in operating ventilators as well as other equipment needed to treat children who are diagnosed with COVID. Nagarjun Dwarkanath with this report.
Daily COVID infections are at the lowest in 2 months. Test positivity rate is down to less than 5% in over half of India's districts. The worst of the second wave seems to be over, but it is not the time to be complacent. Many cities are getting ready to face a third wave if it happens. This is a workshop organized in Bengaluru by the civic body BBMP. It is training 50 pediatricians for COVID fight, as several experts have warned that the third wave could affect the kids most. The doctors are getting hands-on training in operating ventilators, use of non-invasive ventilation and management of shock in children.
Demo doll is being used, and the doctors also will learn the procedures, how to do it, because remember, the Delta variant is quite serious and third wave would be more difficult to tackle is what the experts say, and that's the reason why BBMP has swung into action today, training the top 50 pediatricians in their sector so that they can teach the remaining doctors. The government is quite serious about the third wave, which would start in November or December as per the experts. They want to tackle it and be prepared as much as possible, and also the Karnataka government has started 70 to 80 bedded pediatric center in every district and taluk level, which will be helpful in tackling the third wave as such.
In the hospital, you have to accommodate parents also, mother or father, because below 5 years children, they need a very important mother or father. So that's why we are accommodating the father and our mother for treatment.
According to the research of the American Academy of Pediatrics, for every 1 lakh children, 5,000 are testing positive in the US. The BBMP says if the same is extrapolated to Karnataka, which has 1.88 crore population up to 18 years, then 9,43,566 could get infected. The civic body says it is predicted that 2% of the positive children are expected to require hospitalization, which would add to 18,000.
Third wave, that will become an issue in which our doctors need to be trained. Eminent pediatricians, pulmonologists and other specialist doctors would be speaking to a set of our doctors who are working in the primary health centers.
Experts have so far maintained there is no scientific evidence so far that a new wave will hit children in particular. The BBMP is not taking chances. It is better to be safe than be sorry. With Nagarjun Dwarkanath in Bengaluru, Bureau Report, India Today.
There's of course a lot of talk about the third wave of COVID-19 in India. Is it inevitable? Well, the answer is perhaps yes, but how much of this can really be cushioned depends on us completely. Sneha Mordani spoke to public health experts about what needs to be done next, even as we recover from the second COVID wave.
As we see a decline in the second wave of cases, a third wave, according to a mathematical projection by the National Supermodel Committee, looks possible. Scientists have warned against it.
We can expect, let's say, till September, October people to retain their immunity. So first observation we can make is that the third wave is not going to come before that. If our vaccination pace covers up for that, and so that the percentage of immune population remains reasonably high, then the third wave's impact will be very localized.
The government too has said it will happen.
The phase 3 is inevitable, given the high levels of circulating virus. But it's not clear on what time scale this phase 3 will occur. Hopefully, incrementally, but we should prepare for new waves.
But medical experts and epidemiologists say the government can avert future disasters only by investing in healthcare workers and public health. India's response to COVID has been tripled by an acute shortage of medical staff, doctors, nurses, paramedics, and technicians. The country has 37.6 healthcare workers for every 10,000 people. The World Health Organization's benchmark is a minimum of 44.5. At 562, India has the highest number of medical colleges in the world. But given our 1.3 billion population, the doctor-patient ratio is abysmal. 9 doctors per 10,000 people, as against 42 in Germany, 28 in the UK, and 26 in the US. There are only 15 nurses for every 10,000 individuals. The UK has 150, Germany 132, the US has 85, China has 23. China, which is more populated than us, has 3.61 million doctors, nearly thrice that of India.
All the vacancies of frontline workers who are instrumental in doing the earlier actions in terms of testing, contact tracing, and also for actions including clinical care. This time we should not have any excuse for not preparing for multiple waves.
Experts say surveillance is also the key.
In order to prepare for aggressive containment, we need to have a really strong and proactive surveillance system. This can be done only by expanding the surveillance system's reach and also capacity in terms of identifying cases as early as possible. The moment we identify such clusters, we should be investigating it and preventing it from further spread.
Vaccination is our weapon to minimize the adversities of a third wave. The speed of vaccination should increase many folds to reach at least 10 million doses per day over the next few months.
We need to vaccinate as many people as we can before any sort of third wave hits us. The more we vaccinate, the better prepared we are.
Also, involvement of the private sector to handle the crisis, increased bed capacity and better resources, the paucity of which saw India collapse during the peak of the wave. The government says a lot depends on the people and we can have the situation under control even if the mutating virus keeps us on the edge.
Given the variant, given the reduced protection from vaccination, good protection against severe disease, but not full protection against infection, and enough number of unvaccinated people in every country, I believe outbreaks is a reality that everybody has to be on guard against.
This is an opportunity for governments to build strong and resilient healthcare systems. This pandemic, especially the second wave, has exposed India's dismal healthcare system completely. The need of the hour is to invest in India's healthcare structure, the system, increase spending on healthcare. Clearly, radical solutions are required. In New Delhi, Sneha Mordani for India Today.
Vaccine politics has escalated once again. Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has launched a scathing attack on Prime Minister Modi over the revised vaccine policy. Mamata alleged that the Modi government isn't following the spirit of federalism. She questioned the centre's policy of keeping the right to distribute 25% of the COVID vaccines. She asked why the centre is distributing vaccines to private hospitals and not to the states directly. Mamata also opposed the imposition of GST on medicines and vaccines. Taking a dig again at the Prime Minister, Mamata said that Prime Minister Modi only knows how to speak against states and questioned his eagerness to take credit for vaccines. She also asked what happened to the promise of free vaccines that the BJP had made before the Bihar elections. Now, India Today had put out a shocking expose of black marketeers who were ripping off desperate families by overcharging, and this was for black fungus treatment. Authorities have caught one of the pandemic sharks from Chandigarh along with his associate.
कितने का पड़ेगा बाजी? 13,000 का। सील होगी, खुला सील है। कितने हैं? 10। आपको कितने पैसे देने हैं? टोटल? 30 के साथ।
India Today exposed these vultures first. The pandemic sharks freely looting citizens vial by vial, feeding on the shortage of the life-saving drug amphotericin B that cures black fungus. Remember them, an unauthorized vendor of pharmacy products in Ludhiana in Punjab. Arun Arora offers an amphotericin B brand purportedly made by a US-based drug maker. When he met India Today's undercover reporters in Chandigarh, Arora demanded 13,000 rupees for a 50 milligram vial, more than double its price on online portals. Amphotericin B is also used in treating many opportunistic infections caused by HIV. And Arora confessed that the drug is siphoned off from the Punjab State AIDS Control Society and sold to buyers in the region.
कितने का पड़ेगा बाजी? 13,000 का। सील होगी, खुला सील है। कितने हैं? 10। आपको कितने पैसे देने हैं? टोटल? 30 के साथ। 13 है तो 1,30,000 देने ना।
ये जैसे इलेक्शन गवर्नमेंट से लाट होती है 8 एक हो गए 6 एक हो गए 6 एक हो गए 20 हो गए ना 3 उनको दे देंगे 10 उनमें से दे देंगे
But not anymore. India Today's exclusive sting operation has created a big impact. Arun Arora has been arrested with 20 vials of amphotericin B with his associate in a crackdown ordered after our expose. More importantly, authorities are now hunting for other black marketeers on the prowl. Bureau Report, India Today.
As the dissent within the West Bengal BJP unit deepens, the state leadership will be meeting with BJP President JP Nadda today, with Shubhendu Adhikari already camping in the national capital. Now, Soumitra Khan and Arjun Singh have also landed in Delhi. Sources say that both the leaders will meet with JP Nadda today. Now, reportedly after the poll defeat, there's serious deliberation within the party and major organizational changes is expected. There's a strong buzz that Dilip Ghosh could be replaced as the party president, as his term has also ended. The party has already removed Kailash Vijayvargiya from the in-charge post of Bengal. Remember that the crisis in BJP's Bengal unit came to the fore after 3 top leaders had skipped the party's key meet that was held in Kolkata. Several turncoats have issued apologies to the TMC for switching sides before the elections. Many of them have returned also to the Trinamool Congress. Well, in fact, with months to go for the Punjab elections, meanwhile, Congress has yet another fire to douse. Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu are at loggerheads yet again. Congress interim President Sonia Gandhi has now formed a 3-member panel to resolve this rift.
The Congress leadership's troubles are far from over. While it faced a major jolt in Uttar Pradesh with the desertion of Jitin Prasada, a bigger crisis is now brewing in Punjab, where the party is in power and holds advantage ahead of next year's elections. The rift between Captain Amrinder Singh and party MLA Navjot Singh Sidhu has been festering for months now. If Captain Amrinder Singh is the boss of Punjab, Sidhu has the star appeal that the Congress just cannot ignore. A 3-member Congress panel headed by Mallikarjun Kharge, formed to study the Punjab Congress's internal crisis, is to submit its report to the party high command anytime now. Sources say the panel is likely to suggest a replacement for Punjab Congress chief Sunil Jakar. Sources also say that the Gandhi siblings Rahul and Priyanka are in favor of Navjot Singh Sidhu. But this suggestion was outrightly rejected by Captain Amrinder Singh. The other two options for the High Command is to appoint Sidhu as the captain's deputy or to give him responsibility of the campaign committee.
मीडिया ਦੀ ਸਪੈਕੂਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹਾ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਦੇ ਐਮਐਲਏ ਨੇ ਨਵਜੋਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੀਨੀਅਰ ਲੀਡਰ ਨੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਸਾਰੀ ਟੀਮ ਸੀਐਮ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਟੀਮ ਲੈ ਲਓ ਇੱਕ ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜੀ ਦੋ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਹੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ
What remains to be seen is whether the High Command will be able to quell the dissidents and rehabilitate Navjot Singh Sidhu. But asserting his proximity to the Gandhis, Sidhu often takes his own line. He ignored the captain's instructions when he visited Pakistan, once for Imran Khan's swearing in and then for the opening of Kartarpur Sahib corridor. Sidhu was blamed for the party's poor performance in Punjab's urban areas in Lok Sabha elections. Amrinder Singh changed Sidhu's portfolios, which forced him to resign as cabinet minister in July 2019. Since then, the party leadership has failed to make the two warring leaders make peace.
The 3-member panel headed by Mallikarjun Kharge has suggested various measures to end crisis in Punjab Congress. But two of the suggestions, including to appoint Navjot Singh Sidhu as state Congress chief and to give him a deputy chief minister's post, have outrightly been rejected by Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh. The big question is whether the party high command will be able to quell the rebellion in state unit and to placate Navjot Singh Sidhu. With video journalist Dilip Sahu, this is Manjeet Sehgal in Chandigarh for India Today.
There's more damning proof of coronavirus originating from the Wuhan virology lab in China. India Today has accessed now an explosive video of Peter Daszak, member of WHO International Expert Group. He's the president of the Eco Health Alliance. And in this video, which dates back to a few years ago, Daszak boasts about the manipulation of a killer SARS-like coronavirus carried out by his colleagues in China.
So we sequenced the spike protein, the protein that attaches to cells. Then I didn't do this work, but my colleagues in China did the work.
An explosive video of Dr. Peter Daszak boasting about the manipulation of killer SARS-like coronavirus being carried out by colleagues, as he put it, in China. In this 2016 video, Dr. Daszak speaks at a forum on emerging infectious diseases and the next pandemic and describes in detail the research being carried out at the Wuhan lab in China.
Then when you get a sequence of a virus and it looks like a relative of a known nasty pathogen, just like we did with SARS, we found other coronaviruses in bats, a whole host of them. Some of them looked very similar to SARS. So we sequenced the spike protein, the protein that attaches to cells. Then I didn't do this work, but my colleagues in China did the work. You create pseudoparticles, you insert the spike proteins from those viruses, see if they bind to human cells. And each step of this, you move closer and closer to this virus could really become pathogenic in people.
This is also indicative of the growing proof of Wuhan Institute of Virology's deep financial and personal ties to US President Joe Biden's top advisor on health, Dr. Anthony Fauci's National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Peter Daszak heads Eco Health Alliance, which is reported to have funneled funds to the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
And we went out to southern China and did surveillance of bats across southern China, and we've now found, after 6 or 7 years of doing this, over 100 new SARS-related coronaviruses, very close to SARS. Some of them get into human cells in the lab. Some of them can cause SARS disease in humanized mouse models and are untreatable with therapeutic monoclonals, and you can't vaccinate against them with the vaccine.
Dr. Daszak's EcoHealth Alliance is in the eye of a storm for sending $600,000 to the Wuhan lab that is seen as the source of the coronavirus. Dr. Daszak is also reported to have organized a statement expressing solidarity with scientists and health professionals in China. The statement read, "We stand together to strongly condemn conspiracy theories suggesting that COVID-19 does not have natural origin," unquote. Dr. Daszak also thanked Anthony Fauci in April 2020 for downplaying the theory that the coronavirus may have leaked from a lab. But with more information filtering out, seeking closer scrutiny of the Wuhan lab, Dr. Fauci too has now called for more investigations.
I do not have any accounting of what the Chinese may have done, and I'm fully in favor of any further investigation of what went on in China. However, I will repeat again, the NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan.
Just like we did with SARS, we found...
Dr. Daszak's 2016 boast about the manipulation of the killer SARS-like virus carried out by his colleagues in China has once again brought the spotlight on the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Bureau Report, India Today.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of First Up. Thank you very much for watching. And remember that all the news and updates continue right here on India Today.